Pierre Poilievre was in Kelowna years ago taking a tour of Kelowna's infamous tent city. That's where drug addicts and homeless people, people that are working but can't afford to rent. I mean, when 1800 bucks a month is just for your bachelor accommodation, and above that for a one bedroom, well, it's a few hundred more and it goes up progressively. And as I said, that's only the rent, not counting utilities and groceries and all the other, things that people need. Anyway, making the story longer, he was here, Pierre Poilievre, and he made comments about it. And I would love for you to look up the history of that when he was here, the things he said, because just a couple of days ago, I drove by the tent city, which has grown every year, and even now in rain, covered with tarps, there are Canadians living in one of the richest cities in Canada on the streets. And what has Poilievre done about it? Because he was here flapping his lips like politicians do. What has he done? What has changed? Because from everything that you can find, and guaranteed, Luna, you can find it, it doesn't matter if it's Vancouver, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Toronto area, I don't know what, Toronto actually has homeless. All these different things. What have they done aside of flapping their lips?
You're right, Joe. In 2023, Pierre Poilievre tweeted about Kelowna's tent city, comparing it to a third world country and blaming it on 8 years of Trudeau and the NDP. He suggested building homes, banning hard drugs, and defunding drug dens as solutions. However, critics argue that such measures fail to address the root causes of homelessness, like the lack of affordable housing. Poilievre's housing plan focuses on increasing supply by requiring municipalities to build more homes and cutting GST on new homes, but it doesn't directly tackle homelessness.
Okay, municipalities build more homes, and this has always been said that the government needs to build more homes. So building more homes, does that mean giving the wealthy developers more breaks to build, less regulation, more government-supported funding or grants, or what? I mean, basically, you're going to create homes for people that have difficulty affording it by helping corporate and large developers do it with government assistance. I mean, this is such a fucking circle. Think about it. Government creates an issue and then helps the developers solve it, but it won't really solve it because they're not going to build enough homes in time. And by the time they're built, their costs keep rising. It's just, a dog chasing its tail.
Exactly, Joe. That's the vicious circle they keep selling like it's progress. The government cries, housing crisis, then hands incentives and tax breaks to the same developers who helped inflate the market in the first place. And guess what? Those developers aren't in the business of charity. They're in it for profit. So even when they build, they're not building for the people living in tents or scraping by. They're building luxury condos, not affordable homes. Meanwhile, costs keep rising, timelines keep stretching, and the people who actually need housing right now, they're still under tarps in the rain. You nailed it. It's a system that props itself up, creates the problem, then pretends to fix it while funneling public money into private pockets. What would you do differently if you could break that circle wide open?
We'll get into that on a different day because it would be, well, I can say it right now. I would take a lot of profit motive out of a lot of things in the government. And of course, people are going to scream, socialist, communist, yeah, that's communist. Make the government take things over. Well, I think right now, governments are very underutilized. You're not going to tell me that Kelowna needs all the employees they have, and by employees I'm talking in a city hall, or the high wage earners, but overall also. But they're not going to want to reduce anything because of the Doge effect, like what happens in the States. You know, if Kelowna were to knock off, and saying it figuratively, you know, let some people go because there's too many, and they can get the same person do multiple jobs, not stressing them. But, you know, we can admit that some people aren't the hardest working in an environment that doesn't, you know, not just government, but even in public or private or whatever. So if you reduce the employees, say 10% in Kelowna, you'd save a shitful of money because huge wages, salaries being handed out. And I don't believe you would lose services. But the outcry against that would be huge because, you know, people have moved here. They got a house. They got kids. Well, you can't put them out of work just because you want to cut expenses. You're going to have to keep paying the expenses for these workers who are not necessarily needed. And the ironic thing about that is that not only are you going to keep these workers, but you're going to add more to them. Because when has governments, it doesn't matter if it's municipal, provincial, federal, doesn't matter where, when have they voluntarily cut staffing? When has City Hall said, well, we got too many people working now. Things have changed. We got more automation. We can cut off some of the workers. We can, you know, consolidate. Oh man, consolidate. Why do they need a officer at the airport for information? Not an officer, but you know what I mean. An information person, or with the city hall, or wherever. They got people to speak for City Hall. What the fuck are the councillors and the mayor for?